Yeah. Canadian Fuhrer trying to get back his crown. Always one of the first. Been slipping lately, though. Good evening. Hello. Good evening to all. Hello, hello, hello. What are you up to this mighty fine night? I'm just sitting here. Sitting here being angsty, as is usual. As per the usual. Angsty Paul.
You were doing some AI overlord shit earlier.
I was, dude. I've got this game called AI Overlord, or no, it's called Despotism, is the name of the game. But the whole point of the game is like you breed humans and then you force them to work in your little factory or whatever to keep you running. So you have to move them around to different chambers. It's like a fuck chamber where they make more humans. There's like a power chamber where they run on a wheel like hamsters and make power. It's a good game to turn to when I'm feeling misanthropic. Just throw humans in the vat.
I think you'd like Fallout Shelter. It was just like a phone game. And they don't do much of those.
No, I don't. But yeah, it's a very simple game, but it's tough. I have trouble getting past too many of the days. It is a little froggy here. What's your favorite retro game? Probably Sonic CD, honestly. Like when it comes to like platformers, older games, that game sticks out so much in my past. That game was just like next level shit. I still think it is, honestly. I still think it's one of the best platformers ever made. I don't know that, you know, I'd say it was better than some of the more modern stuff that's happened, but that game was way ahead of its time. My favorite Muppet. I like Animal when I was a kid. He was the drummer, right?
Yeah.
He was my favorite when I was a kid of the Muppets. I like Fozzie Bear too, just because he was cute when I was a kid. So I'll go with those two, Animal and Fozzie Bear.
But Swedish Chef.
I like him too. Swedish Chef's pretty cool. I'm glad to hear you found a new place to live. Sorry to hear you're wiped out. What's your second favorite tropical fruit? You, George Costanza. You. You're like a big, ripe mushmelon just waiting to get picked and then thrown off a building.
I really don't like tropical fruit, I don't think.
I mean, I'll eat it, but I don't eat, tons of it because I don't live in a tropical place. These are really all favorites and ever-seens today so far, but we just started. Give it time. Sometimes they pull out of favorites and ever-seens. One guy in my city just got COVID, so they locked down the entire city. 2.1 million people. We now have to sign in every place we go. Wow, it sounds like you live somewhere that's taking COVID seriously. Well, you and me both, Phoebes. I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. Got a little mood. Ever seen this cool podcast called Deep Fat Fried? If not, you should check it out. Yeah, dude, you should. Ugh. I don't know what's got me brooding, honestly. Bunch of shit, business shit, just shit. Just shit. Shit on top of shit. Shit burger. With shit fries and a shit Coke on the side. Shitty shit. Elevate your mood with caffeine and doobies. Well, I'm not going to do the caffeine, but I'll smoke a little out here, I guess. It's just another year, I know. Trust me, I know. I've been through 40 of them now. And this 41st one is feeling pretty similar. It's been a good year so far, though. If you could choose any character to be your hype man in a rap battle, I don't know. I don't care. I don't do rap battles. It's fucking hypotheticals. Stupid hypotheticals, favorite questions, and have you seens. Awesome.
Wakey, wakey, chat.
Knock, knock. Is there anybody home? Be honest, Paul, I don't know how the hell you've made it for years on this planet. I'm already 18. I feel like giving up, but respect anyway. Well, respect to you because you haven't given up. Paul, you're more than double my age. I gotta ask, does life really fly by, or does it feel like it drags on forever like it has so far? Because I've heard mixed answers from people. Depends on how you live your life, honestly. I think the people that have their life just like are people that are working jobs that take profound amounts of their life just to be able to kind of like maintain a place where they can come and rest and then go do it again. I lived that kind of life for almost 20 years, and I'm telling you what, dude, that 20 years went. That being said, if you can carve out a niche for yourself, do something that you have some kind of interest in, you know, life can move at a leisurely pace again. But it hits fast forward when you settle. It hits fast forward when you settle into a normal life. It's fast forward when you get a mortgage and all that stuff. What do you think started the EDM movement? I'm not into it myself, but when I read about it, it doesn't seem clear. EDM. I mean, EDM is... There's a whole bunch of little subgenres, and I'm not any kind of expert on EDM, but I'm pretty sure that EDM is just an expression of a kind of an ancient attraction that we've had to rhythm. The drum, of course, beating on something with a stick before the drum was probably one of the first forms of percussive music, probably the first form of percussive music, and was probably very important to a species that didn't have the tools yet to create other musical instruments. And if you listen to EDM, you'll hear that kind of primal pounding beat in it. And if you listen to it, it can be a bit of a rush. You can feel kind of like listening to a rap song with a really, really banging beat, but different. It's more conducive to what they call the flow state. I'll listen to EDM sometimes when I'm really wanting to concentrate on something, throw it on in the background, and it tends to focus things. I like it as a genre, honestly. I don't listen to a lot of it. But I like it. Heard somewhere that a lot of EDM goes at a beat that's the same as a slightly elevated heart rate. Sure. I mean, it depends on the EDM, right? There's electronic music that's more down tempo. There's electronic music that's far more up tempo. There's dance. There's, kind of head nodding kind of music. It's a very diverse genre. I used to love this band, well, not band, I guess, this artist called Burial. I didn't even know that they were dubstep until dubstep became popular. But if you listen to, I'm trying to remember the name of the Burial album that I had that I fucking loved so much. I can't remember the name of it. But go find a Burial album and listen to it. Pretty neat. Benny Benassi, huh? The origins of music and the anthropological theories of why music and dance are innately to our species is absolutely fascinating. It really is. I don't know much about it. I'd be talking out of my ass and speculating for most of it. But it certainly is a fascinating thing to think about. I mean, just human expressiveness alone, the artistic side of humans is something that gets buried a lot under a lot of financial talk and a lot of political jockeying and stuff. I was talking the other day on a stream about this post on Twitter that I really resonated with about the artist's revolution, about the need for an artist's revolution. Not just for artists to get out and start creating more art and start being more forward with their art, but for them to stop selling their art to corporate interests. That would be the real revolution. The real revolution would be people with artistic talent deciding that they're not going to allow their art to be used to sell products or psychologically manipulate people. But in general, just the need for more artists, for people who are artists to come out and do more art, because it's something that has just been slowly but surely buried in our society under mounds of, like I said, spreadsheets and taxes, mortgages and kids and doctor's appointments and jobs. And when's the time for a human being to explore their inner self? When's the time for a human being to be expressive? catch-22, Paul. Most people can't make money on their art, can't support themselves with their art, and become popular without selling spirit anyway. It's sad that it's either or. I mean, I agree. Either be appreciated and successful or be true to yourself. Well, I mean, there are middle roads, but I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's easy to get there. I'm a creative person that's very lucky to get to make my money doing mostly creative shit. Now, in order to set up the platform for that mostly creative shit, I have to do a lot of non-creative business type of shit in the background. But that business shit feeds the artistic shit. The business shit that I do, the time that I spend in meetings, the time that I spend in interviews, the time that I spend talking to vendors or poring over different fucking things, the time that I spend writing scripts, the time that I spend researching, all of that shit serves the platform. It serves my creative platform, where I get to take an aspect of my creativity and put it on display for people. If you can build something like that, you can make money doing your art. I'm a creative, and basically I have a throwaway project I'm willing to alter and sell for money that I don't care about too much. Basically, I can later fuck up the thing I actually care about. I mean, you got to do what you can. Overall, art needs to be nurtured in this society in a way that it just isn't. There are endowments for the arts and artistic scholarships, and it's not enough. It's not enough. In my opinion, people should be immersed in art just as heavily as they're immersed in language and numbers. To me, it's just as important that people be exposed to art and be allowed to create and be allowed to express themselves creatively than it is for them to learn their times tables and their alphabet. Being willing and able to think outside of the box is a huge part of it. Being willing and able to stand on your own intellectual feet, being willing and able to take a stand on things that you want. All of these things are wrapped together. Artistic expression is an important part of the human existence. Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. I mean, I enjoy that saying, and I think that there is some truth in it, but the deck is stacked these days, man. The deck is very, very stacked these days. Do what you have to is becoming more and more, and do what you want to is becoming less and less. Hot take: intellectual property and the idea of copyright is a huge detriment to creativity. I think taking an existing idea and building on it or altering it while keeping true to your core is a valid art. I mean, I don't know. So the idea of copyright and intellectual property is something that is meant to protect artists from other people booking the profits on their work. If you removed the idea of intellectual property and copyright from the current system, you would place you would place a lot of burden on currently working artists. I'm no fan of copyright law as it exists now, but the idea that you could draw something, somebody could just go in and scrub your name off of it and use it and make a bunch of fucking dough for it that you never see, like, how does that encourage people to continue to be creative? I mean, wholesale copying things entirely. I mean, things like colleges using existing images or fan fiction. Well, I mean, you have to distinguish the two, though. I mean, your hot take was about intellectual property and copyright law being bad for artists. And then you just talked about how, well, only bad in these narrow ways. Look, it's not the ideal situation. In an ideal world, art wouldn't be a commodity. In an ideal world, art would be created for the joy of it and would be available for people to enjoy the fruits of. That's the ideal world, right? Your utopia. Where the profit motive is removed from art and artists are free to express themselves and create what it is that they want to create. Like being severely punished for using 5 seconds of music in a 5-hour stream is so crazy. Right. I mean, that's the dark side of copyright law, right? Is that there's this middle gray area called fair use that's supposed to be just as vigorously enforced as copyright law, but it isn't. Copyright law oftentimes supersedes the idea of fair use, and so things that are made for parody or educational purposes or illustrative of a point, small chunks of another person's work, transformed, those things should all be 110% covered and legal, and they are, but the copyright system as it exists allows people to go around that. I've avoided putting my shit in content ID for that. If my friends share my music, I don't want to hurt them. Sure. You know what I mean? The sad fact of that matter is that it also, you removing your music from content ID opens up somebody's ability to just pretend they're you. Take it, upload it elsewhere. There's no fucking right way. There's no right way to do it. It's a broken system. Imagine a completely personalized streaming service without copyright. You could have a version of Star Wars that suits you best, for example. It would be incredible post-capitalism, of course. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean is like, if the profit motive was removed from art and the economic barriers that are placed on artists were also removed via some kind of UBI or some kind of resource-based economy, then artists would be free to create. And what you would see would be collaborative effort. You would see an artist take another artist's work and expound upon it, push it further. You would see artists getting in these duels where they were trying to push one another further. In fertile times for art and in history, these things were pretty common. Great artists pushing one another to exceed expectations for their next work. Some artists simply don't go deep enough into their work, and some artists can do that if they choose to. I mean, that's true. And that, what a beautiful world it would be if I created something and people appreciated it, and somebody appreciated it so much that they took that something and created something even newer with it, and fresher and more amazing and more incisive with it. And then I, as an artist, could take what they made with my art and reimagine it and do it again. And other people would simultaneously be doing the same thing. Imagine these waves of creativity spreading through the human populace. Artists driving one another to expound on the same theme. Artists driving one another to try different mixed mediums. Artists driving one another to push their own boundaries, to push the boundaries of their art, to push the boundaries of their skill and their ability. What an amazing focus for humanity that would be, other than the generation and accumulation of capital. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we human beings had taken this consciousness that was foisted upon us by the evolutionary process, and instead of turning it into a giant exploitation machine, we turned it into this amazing creative utopia? Imagine if human beings focused as much of their energy on their inner lives and their artistic expression of those inner lives as they did in making money. Imagine if all of the power and industry that goes behind creating that capital was instead reinvested so that people could pursue what they were really passionate about. Imagine if that was the focus of humanity. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful dream, and it just puts in sharp relief how fucking backwards the system that we're all living under is. If money wasn't a main focus, or money didn't exist at all. That's right, Phoebe. Nobody has the time to actually live off their land base. Nobody has the time to maintain a farm for their family and go to work. Which means that nobody has the time to create. Very few people have the time to create. Very few people have the time to pursue their passion. We live in a meat grinder, no room to be creative. Yep. Very little room. There's spaces in between the chopping blades and shit that you can wedge yourself in and make a little art, but seems to be falling by the wayside. The dream crusher that is global capitalism. D, bring it here. Bring it. Come on.
Where's all this energy?
I don't know, but we're going to get it out. I want to do wind sprints until we can't wind sprint no more. Come on. Yeah, he got them zooms right now, man. What, 2? No, you better bring it. Where are you going? You ran. You see, this is your problem. You run before the ball. Come on. You wait for it. Sorry, you guys are just going to have to watch me play fetch with Dynor for a minute. It's just the way it goes on these streams, you know? Dynor needs a fetch. I mean, what do you want me to do?
Come here. You want me to do it?
Get it, boy. Come on. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just, I'm done. No, it's okay. I'm having fun. I'm having fun with him. Yeah, dude, you gotta give a brother a fetch. Here you go. Where you going? Enter Dinor in the doggy Olympics. Yeah, dude. The 100-meter fetch.
He's built good for running.
Yeah, he's got a good stride once he gets like in his like gallop or whatever you want to call it. Is that it? Come on. Come on. Hey. Bring it. Bring it here.
Dad knew you had another in you.
Yep. You ain't getting out of it. You gonna run. Come on. Quick. Bring it. Bring it to me. Come on. No, you better bring it. You done? You all winded?
Put it down.
Put it in my hand.
He's like, I ain't letting go.
Come on. You gonna give it? Give it. Somebody said this stream has a vibe they haven't felt since pre-pandemic. I mean, that's really what...
Yeah, now he's done.
Yeah, now you're done. Now you've dropped.
I'm putting it close to you, Dad.
I mean, that's... the vibe of these streams is very important to me. I do not want these to feel like a typical... You know, and there's no, like, I do this type of shit, so I'm not trying to down talk people who make this type of content, but I don't want this to feel like a typical over-prepared, you know, overhyped, over-energized fucking thing. Like, this has always been a conversational show. Sometimes it goes there. Sometimes I do crazy shit. Sometimes I go, you know, a little hard in the paint, but for the most part, I just want to sit and give people who maybe don't have the opportunity to do it some time to sit here on the porch with me. That's why I do so much of this outside when the weather allows, and even when it doesn't. Yeah, sometimes a skeleton pops out, you know. What are you going to do? You know, I'm not trying to grow this channel. I mean, I don't, like, eschew the idea of more people finding this. And you know, the last couple of streams I did have a few people say, hey, I haven't watched you in years, checking you out, what's going on? That's cool. But I really don't look at this channel as something that I care about fluctuations in subscribers or viewership. You know, this really does exist for the people that participate in it live, and then the people that come along and watch it later to just kick back with if they want to. I think it maintains itself pretty well at those numbers. Sometimes you just got to kick back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. I don't know about the fruits, but sometimes you do got to just kick back. How you doing over there, bud? He's all splayed out now.
You're not panting, though.
It's too cold. Enjoy the poop from your labor, yes. Ambiance is important. You know, these started as outside streams for a reason. Spent most of my time indoors. Wanted to spend some time out in the fresh air with the frogs and the birds, the sunlight and the moonlight and all that shit. And so I do. Would you ever consider bringing on a friend to chill and chat with? Someone like Pimp or Billy, that would be cool. Sure. I mean, I do it sometimes. I have my friend Jason on sometimes. TJ joins me sometimes. If I had a friend in real life that was visiting me that wanted to jump on here and shoot the shit with me, I'd do it. I feel like that's why a lot of YouTubers burn out. They're so focused on becoming the number one YouTuber or streamer. It's like, take time to chill, grow a little gut. I mean, you have to, a little. And if you're focused on being the number one, I mean, there's one person that gets to be that, like.
Well, this isn't your main income either, the show is.
No, but I mean, even that show, yeah, would I like it to be number one? Sure. But is it likely that it ever will be the number one podcast in the world? No. And that's okay. If we can keep reaching new people and keep growing our audience a little by little, I'm a happy guy. We can keep making things that people are happy with and continue to, be willing to make their contribution to see. I'm a happy guy. That's, of course I want it to grow. TJ Highdeology was madness. He got super drunk and kept the show running. Yeah.
I was with the trader, Rickland Manches.
Oh, another trader.
Remember?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Because he jumped on here, and Rickland Manches immediately became his little, butt washer. His sycophant.
Defrocked Otello.
Oh. How dare he? I wasn't even mad at TJ about that. It was Rickland. One of the best Highdeologies ever was when you and TJ streamed for 6 hours. Yeah. That is one thing I kind of miss, because TJ and I are both the types of dudes that, we both have the impulse to do this type of shit. And when we were living together specifically, in the same roof, it was very easy to just, hey, TJ, you want to do a stream? Yeah. It's like now, distance creates distance, He's got his own plans for the day and shit, and it feels like more of a fucking event, Hey, would you like to do a Highdeology with me at 3 p.m. on Tuesday? Rather than hey, man, I'm fucking jump on stream real quick. You want to sit down and smoke a doobie? Oh, yeah, Can't really do that. But hopefully once the fucking pandemic shit is somewhat under control, that'll change. There are certainly plans on, if not us living in the same fucking zone again, visiting one another multiple times a year with the intent to live communally and make content and shit.
Vaccine's slowly rolling. 30 million out of 50 million available so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's happening, but I mean, look, they're rolling it out to the people that are in most danger of catching it and transmitting it. And I understand that, but it's just when it hits that greater part of the fucking populace that isn't 65 and older and isn't a frontline worker, it's going to be fucking insane getting one of these things. Shortfalls, shortages, there's going to be people driving from fucking all over different states and shit trying to get it, trying to find it. I know.
Rich people that are fucking flying into different areas to fucking get in line.
Just wait till it hits the fucking CVS's and the Walgreens and shit. And they're out. But I heard a rumor that the one in next town over has it. And then that's going to become, I heard a rumor that the next state over has a surplus of it. And then there's going to be it's going to be impossible for a while to get it, even when they do make it available for people. It's going to be a fucking nut house. But once I've got that, then I'll feel way more comfortable traveling again. And, then the idea of hopping a fucking plane 3 times a year to spend a week in some centralized location where we've rented out a studio space to just slam content, that makes more sense. I was watching your most viewed stream and was surprised to find out the bad path that JF went down. Yeah. I guess that is my most viewed stream. The stream where I was jumping around a 4-hour JF podcast trying to find some point where they weren't bitching about the Jews.
Yeah.
And it started as a joke because every time I would move around, somebody would be talking about the Jews within 5 seconds. And so I started asking the chat for timestamps. I was like, give me timestamps. 6:10. I'd go to 6:10 and within 5 seconds, Jews. It was 4 hours of Jews. It was fucking insane. Utterly fucking crazy.
I forgot that OJ was 73 years old too.
Yeah, OJ's.
I saw that he got the vaccine. I was like, oh, he's old as shit.
Yeah, old as the fucking hills. Black don't crack. OJ's out there looking like he's in his fucking 50s or something. He's 70.
Yeah.
What is he? The fuck, dude? How do you even get off being a fucking multiple murderer and looking that good at 73 and live it, dude? I follow his Twitter too.
Yeah.
The motherfucker is living the high life.
Oh, yeah.
He's on the golf course all day. Mm-hmm. He's always tweeting from inside sports bars and shit about his fucking football pool and shit. He's drinking, smoking cigars, playing golf. That motherfucker is coasting. Multiple murderer. Whatever. Yeah, he went to prison for 7 years for armed robbery.
Because he was a dumbass. It's like, oh.
It's like he beat a double murder rap that he clearly perpetrated. Then went and wrote a book called If I Did It. You know what I mean? Filled with if I was gonna kill Nicole, here's how I would have done it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And he's fucking golfing and sipping martinis at the clubhouse with his friends, with his rich buddies. And he's got nothing better in the world to do than post twice a day on Twitter about his fantasy football game. If I did it.
Dude, that whole team, I don't know if it was just Johnny Cochran. I think it was all of them fools. That fucking...
Oh, no, dude. They called him the Dream Team for a reason.
Yeah.
Johnny Cochran had his role, but every one of those motherfuckers in concert got him over that rap. Do you think that the OJ case is a microcosm of how ruling class elements will actively twist intersectionality, critical race theory to subvert accountability? That wouldn't have happened if OJ... See, this is more of a class issue than a race issue.
Yeah, because I don't think they ever made that defense, did they?
What?
That he was... I guess, yeah, that he was framed because...
He was framed because the LAPD was racist, was the main crux of his defense. Yeah. And that's what they leaned on. Mm-hmm. But had O.J. Simpson not been a multimillionaire international celebrity... he would not have gotten the vigorous defense that he got, and he would have been locked up for that murder. And so it's a class issue, not a race issue. OJ got exactly what everybody should get. He got an extremely vigorous defense. And they did their job better than the prosecution did. As salty as people want to be about it, that's just the truth. It wasn't even really a failure of the justice system, as it was a failure of a classist system that allows people to buy a legal team that is so much better than what the people can put forth. And that's just the truth. Marcia Clark and fucking Chris Darden and the other people that were supporting members of that prosecuting team were not as talented at law as the huge, fucking who's who that OJ was able to afford to assemble. He assembled some of the greatest defense attorneys that were alive at that time and had them all on his team. So I don't mean to be a class reductionist, but this is not a black-white issue. This is a OJ had money issue. Class reductionism is what we need. I don't really see this inherent battle this battleground people try and make between critical race theory and class, theory. I really don't understand why people don't think these things are married. If you want to look at how black people have been held down economically and socially in this country, you have to look at the fact that they were made a second-class citizen and that they share, if you want to talk intersectionality, let's talk about economic intersectionality. They share a lot of elements of poverty with people of other races, including white people. Poverty affects people generally the same across the fucking board. It's just that black people are far more likely to fucking experience it. Experience what? Poverty. What's the problem? Poverty and the disproportionate amount of black people who exist within it. Why can't we look at both sides of the coin? Why does it have to be either or? When I'm talking about elevating the lower class, I'm talking about elevating black and brown people. I'm talking about elevating poor white people in rural areas. I'm talking about elevating immigrants. You see? How is that something that you would be against? Why would you take people who argue for political action, mostly from a classist perspective, and act like they're against you? Like, how are those things mutually exclusive? I don't understand. Especially now that I understand the concept of intersectionality. A lot of the problems that black and brown people face in this country are intersectional with poverty, with generational ghettoization, with generational welfare, generational crime, generational over-policing. Those things are common in all poor communities. How do you understand intersectionality? It's pretty simple, honestly, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Intersectionality is, as I understand it, this idea that you can't reduce a problem to just one thing. Like, you can say racism, right? But a black man and a black woman are going to experience racism in different ways. A Mexican man and an African man are going to experience racism in different ways. A disabled person is going to experience discrimination in a different way than an able person would. A disabled person of color is going to experience a different kind of discrimination than a non-disabled person of color will. That's intersectionality. It's understanding that there are different experiences within this broad swath of things we like to call race and poverty. Is it really discrimination with disabled people? They literally can't do many jobs. I'm not talking about just job place discrimination. If you think that that's all that exists as a disabled person, I can tell that you have no disabled people in your family, and you're lucky for that. Disabled people have a ton of social hindrances, a ton. Some of them physical, some of them social barriers. Richest society in human history, we print our own money, but most people are starting to have third world living conditions. It's disgusting how greed corrupts people. Yeah, it is. What do you think of the people who equate class reductionism to fascism? I think, interestingly enough, they're acting like fascists. The fact that they can't see that class and race as problems are two sides of the same coin, and the fact that they want to exclude anybody that wants to argue from a classist perspective from the left is fascist. What time is it where you're at? 4:30. So what time is it? A 4:30. I think the saddest thing about capitalism is our utter alienation from each other. I don't know anyone on my street or in my community. We're beset on all sides by complete strangers. I was talking to my mom the other day about this. She was telling me a story. She had a neighbor move into the neighborhood, and happens to be a black family. And my mom does this. Whenever she sees anybody on her block move in, she makes something for them. So she made them like a pie or a cake or something. Took it over to them and said, "Welcome to the neighborhood." And like 2 weeks later, that dude walked over to her house. And she was sitting out on her lawn like she does. Her and my stepdad like to sit out on their lawn. And that new neighbor walked over and thanked her again for the cake and told her, you know, we've moved 3 or 4 times to 3 or 4 different neighborhoods. And he said, not one time has anybody welcomed us to the neighborhood like that. He was like, that's the first time it's ever happened to me. And my mom was talking about how sad she thought that was. That things had deteriorated to the point where people don't even care who they're living next to. They don't care for the people that they're living next to. That whole idea of like community, you know, watching out for the communal welfare within your fucking neighborhood, helping each other out, giving a helping hand if it's needed, etc. That whole thing is dead. It's gone. And there are very few people still practicing it. My mom is in her 60s now. When her generation dies, nobody will be doing it. It's a nice thought in theory, but nobody likes a busybody when they have to deal with one. Well, that's true too. I mean, it does create a fucking environment where people are gossiping about each other and shit, but I don't know. I think the benefit of knowing a couple of your neighbors and being in contact with them is probably outstrips the busybody factor by an order of magnitude.
I mean, if you don't get neighborhood gossip, you get workplace gossip or family gossip. So.
Gossip is just going to be a thing. I love that speech in Doubt about gossip.
Yeah.
It's my favorite scene in that movie. Such a fucking power play. Do you know your neighbors in the swamp? Not until like really late in living there did I really meet my neighbors. I had some downstairs neighbors, and I spent a lot of time on the porch, and they'd spend a lot of time on their porch, and so we started yakking back and forth, and it wasn't like some great friendship or anything, but you know, at least we talked to each other.
Just dragged your butt outside more.
Yeah.
You wanted to see what I was up to smoking on the porch.
Yep. I never saw a wild alligator the whole time I lived in Louisiana, but to talk to people that live there, it's pretty rare unless you go to the bayou and shit. And I never went on any bayou tours or anything while I was there. I don't think lack of community is a capitalism thing. I think it's a tech thing. We get our connections elsewhere. I mean, maybe, but isn't tech a capitalism thing? Isn't the means by which we get our connections elsewhere controlled by the capitalistic market? I think the answer is yes. Whoops. The internet makes people more dorky? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot, like, I remember a world pre-internet, and there were a lot of dorks already, you know what I mean? So I just think maybe the internet amplifies dorkiness. You've made dorks of us all, Paul's ego. True dorks. You don't see the super dorks because they are chained to the computer. Well, you don't see them too because online you're not the super dork. Online you're a fucking pre-med student with a 12-pack abs and, you know, a certificate in yoga or whatever the fuck. You're whoever you want to be. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons why, you know, you don't see the standard dork stereotype anymore, is because dorks hide that shit behind witty quips, usually that they've stolen from other social media personalities and shit. My face win, you know, etc. I remember back at my grandma's back in Venezuela, the next door neighbors were like family adjacent. People looked out for each other and celebrated together. I mean, that's typical of humanity. What isn't typical of humanity is a stutter-stepping fucking pyramid scheme where everybody's trying to step on each other to get up one rung. And that's what's been created. And that is my contention. I don't think we blame it on technology. I don't think we blame it on anything other than the fact that we're living in a system that incentivizes you to fuck people over. It doesn't incentivize you to stay in one place, have a family, fucking build a business in that community. It incentivizes you to hop around in the communities that you're not going to stay in very fucking long, and then When you do fucking land in a community, the people around you are all doing the same thing. And so where's the fucking, the ability to be stable, to plant your roots somewhere, make a business or work for a business? That's gone. People are just doink, 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 doink. That's what caused it. And if you think about it, very much serves the powers that be, doesn't it? It's hard to organize when you don't have any friends. It's hard to fucking organize anything when you don't know anybody in your fucking community. It's hard to do any organizing at all when you've got to work 3 fucking jobs to make the ends meet, right? You think that's like an accident of capitalism? If you do, you're thinking incorrectly about the people that run things. That's a planned outcome of capitalism. Separating you, making you less socially able to fucking organize anything, giving you these meaningless outlets like Twitter where you can post your fucking political opinions and think you're doing anything when you're not. When where you really need to be able to do something, where you really do have power, is your community, but you're incentivized to hop around to different communities by the fact that you can't have a fucking job that's stable. What advice would you give someone who works themselves to death to keep them semi-motivated? I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not a fucking psychiatrist, to be honest with you. I can tell you that that is a path to a fucking brick wall. Whether it's your body giving out on you or your mind or both, one will go. So, human beings need breathers. We need to sit down and think. We need to sit down and enjoy things. We need to sit down and waste time, kick our feet up, have conversations, watch movies, play video games, distract ourselves a little bit. Human beings need these things. It's all a part of good self-care.
The only thing I can really think of is if it's like a low-end position where you're not in management and you're working yourself to death, there's other entry-level jobs that might be comparable that are at least a change in environment, if nothing else.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, y'all. You feel like you use distraction as too much of a crutch right now? It can be. Work-life balance is one of the hardest things to give people advice about. It's one of the hardest things to gauge because it's different for every person. This idea that human beings have this completely and utterly similar capacity for doing everything is a very capitalistic idea, and it's the source of a lot of disharmony between people that doesn't need to be there. Some people are capable of operating at fucking red line and still being pretty fucking healthy. Some people are capable of operating at about 1/4 of that. And if they push themselves farther than that, their mental health suffers or their physical health suffers, and they're not capable of doing it. And there's a whole gradient between those things. And none of that is addressed in modern society. You're a person, you're a unit of labor, you're expected to do X for X amount of hours, just like everybody else, even though you're nothing like anybody else. Even though you're a completely unique human being with a completely unique makeup, a completely unique set of problems.
You also have a lot of bullshit jobs that don't actually contribute to the way people think they do. All these call centers don't need to exist to keep society running.
I mean, there's a lot of ridiculous jobs, and a lot of them created just as busy work for people. Mm-hmm. Stuff that could be easily automated, but we can't because we have to somehow keep people from living on the quote-unquote government dole, which means we've got to keep them busy mopping, stacking boxes, running around like a fucking chicken with their head cut off, doing something a machine could do in half the time.
Or jobs are invented just to solve problems that other jobs create, like customer service.
Yep. It's a nightmare-scape. It's a nightmare-scape where the individual is forced to be a cog in a fucking big old greasy machine that doesn't give a fuck about them. I mean, I know this rhetoric sounds fucking trite and passe because you've heard it a million fucking times, but it's just the truth. Obedient workers is what is wanted. Free thinkers, organizers, outside of the box thinkers, artists, agitators, social critics, musicians. We don't want these. We don't want them unless we can control them and capitalize off of them. We want good little worker bees. They'll show up to the hive every day and fucking make honey. Scoop their fucking daily earnings right into the mouth of the big fat ass fucking queen in there. That's what we want.
Thank you for warming up my toady.
All this hullabaloo that has gone on in the financial markets and stuff. A lot of people thought this is about like rich people not wanting to lose money. Well, yes. But really, they've got the money to cover that loss. The problem is that rich people don't want poor people playing their game. They don't want the competition in the market. They don't want the average person to realize that they can affect the market. They don't want the average person to realize how they make their money in the market and to start joining their league, their ranks. Are you kidding me? The hoi polloi? The average fucking Joe sitting at the boardroom at a hedge fund? Are you fucking kidding me? Absolutely not.
And no one would be able to hit it so big that they become a millionaire if everyone was in on it.
There were multiple millionaires made by this.
Yeah.
There are people that got in on the ground floor of this and that had 20 grand to invest and bought a bunch of fucking GameStop, and now they're multimillionaires.
But if everyone was involved and they hadn't throttled it when they did,
right,
that would exist.
What are we going to do? If they're not hungry and they're not dependent on our shitty low-wage jobs and they're able to make money like we do, sitting on their fat asses and just fucking moving numbers around on a spreadsheet all day, how are we going to keep them from fucking taking our piece of the pie? How are we going to keep them invested in this fucking lie that we've told them, that this is a noble life, working your fingers to the bone, working your back until all the discs in it just fucking deteriorate? You got to roll yourself around in a wheelchair to get around. How are they going to keep buying the lie that there's nobility in that if we allow them to do what we do, which is to just profit off of all of the labor, make risky bets in the market and have them always pay off? They're not allowed.
Or if they do it, they got to do it with their 401k where we tell them where their money goes.
Right. The store chain I work for announced their sales are up 60%. I asked where the raises, and then they laughed, of course. Of course. Well, I mean, dude, take your mental health into your own fucking hands. If you're having trouble and this is too gloomy, then go on. I mean, like, look, I would caution you against fucking running from the truth and caution you towards taking those negative feelings that you're feeling and turning them towards making some kind of a fucking difference, or at least making some noise about it. But take your mental health into your own hands. I mean, I can't do sunshine and fucking rainbows when we're talking about shit like this. I can't. You want a fucking rainbow shot up your ass? There's any number of fucking streamers out there doing that shit.
Go on Twitch or something, watch someone playing a game or something.
Yeah. Or if you want the political shit, but framed through a everything's gonna be all right perspective, man, you got your pick of the fucking litter, bro. Yeah, it's all good. I'm not mad at you. I'm just letting you know. They made it so poor people would have to ditch everyone they know and care about to ever come close to playing their game with little to no drawbacks. I mean, it's pretty obvious what the game is, right? I mean, like this stonks shit should underline it for people. Like, I don't think it will, though.
It just illustrates how much of a house of cards it is.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it will. I don't think that this is going to cause people to scratch their heads and go, wait a minute now. I was told that honest work made honest pay. I was told that a person honored their obligations. I'm expected to fucking stand behind that. Why is this whole class of people that lives in the same city as I do, eats at the same place as I do when I can afford it, why do they live by a different set of rules as I? We don't need a class war. We need class solidarity. That's all there is to it, man. If there's a war, quote unquote, it needs to be fought in the space of labor. It's the only space in which average people have any fucking power anymore. It has to be fought there. That's the battleground. Can't be fought politically. It's not going to be fought at the ballot box. It's not going to be fought at the initiative box. And I'm sorry to tell you, it's not going to be fought at your local level until there's an established fucking labor movement in this country, an invigorated one that covers everybody. Anybody who wants to join it. Labor won't be as easy to weaponize when automation goes further. All the more reason why leftist thinkers need to fucking divest themselves from this electoral process shit and start organizing labor. 100%. The more they automate away, the less power you have to take a little bit of the power back from them.
Automation's a good thing to have less backbreaking jobs, but you gotta have the social safety net first.
Right. Like, if we're ever going to establish a paradigm that isn't infinite exploitation, if we're ever going to get a UBI, if we're ever going to get single payer, this is how we're going to do it. By taking the economic reins of this country back from the bankers and the speculators and the traders and putting it back in the hands of the people who are functionally making that value. Period. End of fucking discussion as far as I'm concerned, as far as identifying the problem. The solution is a tougher and longer discussion, and one that I don't have a clear-cut, easily packaged fucking answer. How we get there, the nuts and bolts of creating a new fucking labor movement, I don't know how to do that shit. I know how to talk about labor. I know how to discuss the principles of labor with people. I know how to describe how labor unions work to people. But when it comes to having the money, power, influence, reach that it takes to fucking make a new organization like that, I can't do it. And I certainly can't do it alone. So that's why I fucking beat it like a drum, because it's all I can do. There's your answer. That's our one way out, in my opinion. That or just resigning ourselves to eventual collapse. See, this anti-rich sentiment shit, I think it misses the mark, man. This, like, anger at somebody just because they're well off. Be angry at the system that created that. Be angry at the people that propped that up. Being angry at individual rich people is just a waste of fucking time. It's a way to froth at the mouth and scream, eat the rich, and then just go back to your factory job, okay?
I mean, there's a difference between, like, a rich person that is controlling labor and a rich person that's just rich by proxy, too.
Focusing on individual fucking rich people is never going to get us over the hump. What will get us over the hump is taking what we're owed from those rich people by force of labor. Let them keep it now, and we will get our share. That's how it has to be. They're not going to give it. They're not going to give it. They're in a fucking plum position now. They get to sit on top and take the lion's share of profits from your labor. In order to change that paradigm, you've got to fight for it. We all do. It's going to have to be taken because it's not going to be given. I want you to think about something in this country. It's clear to me that there is a trajectory in this country that's pretty inexorable towards some sort of single payer health care plan. Some sort of functional Medicare for all will exist in this country, barring some international fucking collapse or some shit, right? Assuming the trajectory we're on. It's going to happen. But I want you to think about how shitty it's going to be. I want you to think about when it does finally happen, how shitty it's going to be in comparison to the rest of the world. Because our expectations for it are so low now because we just want it. We want something. We're so desperate. We're in the midst of a pandemic. People are going fucking bankrupt from their medical bills. It's insane. So I want you to think about what kind of dog food we're going to get. This is the dark underbelly of putting your hope in incrementalism and electoralism. When you do finally get there, because the outrage just gets too fucking high and stinky for the world to fucking put up with anymore. Got Americans just coughing themselves to death in the streets. When you do finally get it, you're going to get a fucking bouillon cube instead of a meal. And you better believe it. It'll be a two-tiered system. The shit that's free is going to suck. And the shit that is paid for, that'll be fucking A-okay.
And they're going to use that to make people ask for the old system back.
Yep. Then it'll become a political point how inefficient and awful the new healthcare system is and how much better off we all were when we were having to come out of pocket. And things will be so shitty, people will buy it. You don't get the writing on the wall here, folks. Even when you win, you lose. within this system. There's no winning. They don't let you win. They can't let you win. If you win, they don't win. There can't be two winners. Everybody can't be winners. If everybody could be winners, they wouldn't be winners. So if you think that our first fucking foray into a national health plan in this country is going to be worth a fuck, I'm happy to disabuse you of that notion. It's going to be shit. It will be made bad on purpose. It'll be made bad, inefficient, underfunded. It'll have hidden expense. It'll be made bad on purpose. Because the intent will be to funnel your fucking ass back into the private insurance game. Because they got the money to lobby the government and you don't.
Remember the rollout for fucking Obamacare, where it's like website could handle like a tenth of what it was supposed to?
It was ridiculous. You're telling me the fucking United States can't make a website? It was months before people could access the fucking exchange. Ridiculous. It will suck. It'll be shit. And most people that take part in it will rightfully hate it. And a good chunk of those people will probably vote against it the next time they're given the opportunity. You see how this works?
We had to do the exchange last year. It was like shit sandwich A, shit sandwich B.
Yep.
Try to figure out what all these co-pays and shit mean.
I mean, it just is what it is, man. This is why I'm so adamant. This is why I stick to my guns so tightly. And this is why I never shut up about this. Because we're like all in a bus together heading for a fucking cliff. And we're all trying to vote who's going to go pump the brakes. But the driver and the owner of the bus have a vested interest in us going off that fucking cliff. If we don't fucking do something, it's over. Our window might be gone now, but if it's not gone now, it will be soon. Maybe with human nature it was the only possibility. Maybe so. Maybe this problem of consciousness, maybe this is the logical extension of that. Endless exploitation, endless greed, endless hoarding, endless hunger, endless famine, endless war, and then eventually a sterilized planet. The oceans with a fucking 70-foot mat of algae. Maybe then we'll learn. Maybe when we're all fucking gone and the oceans are just a big giant fucking mattress of algae.
trying to cheer you up.
No, I'm all right. Just I'm in a dark mood. If I was the king of a country, I'd be ordering beheadings and shit right now, probably. If I was a medieval king, I'd be deep in my fucking power madness now. A dark and foul mood has fallen over the king. No, I don't know, man. I've learned to embrace this kind of like dark side of my fucking thought process. I have to. I I fought against it a lot when I was younger because society tells you don't be a pessimist. Society tells you don't talk about these things because they're uncomfortable. You heard the dude earlier. I can't even fucking do this anymore, man. I don't blame him. I don't fucking blame him. I mean, you got to take a break. You got to take a fucking break. But I mean, I think most of us are running from this shit. And there are far too few people ringing the alarm bell here. And I can't like look you guys square in the fucking face and do these shows and give you anything less than what I actually believe. I can't do it. And so, like, I've embraced that side of myself. It is what I am. It is how I am. Could I change it if I wanted to? Could I join the ranks of the happy and oblivious? No. I could pretend to.
Probably the only way you could is if you became one of those rich fucks.
Man, me being rich would be an exercise in fucking folly. Oh, D.
You come off me and I want to smoke in your face.
Oh, yeah. Come join me. Come on. Come join me. Let the people see you. Oh, yeah. They love you. You're their favorite. You're the reason that they watch. Because they know that they might get to see you. They don't want to listen to me. They don't want to hear all my bullshit. They here for you, D. They are here for you. The dirty D. Let me get this smell. Let me get a sniff of you. I like that smell. I like that dusty smell on you.
I was just feeling him around. He doesn't seem to have any dreads, which is good.
Nope, he doing good. He doing good.
He's peak fluff now. He hasn't been this fluffy in a while.
Yeah, he's Captain Fluff Butt now. What? You don't want to? What's the deal? Are we fetching again? Is that what's happening? Get your ball. Then bring your ball. Got too excited. Chat hyped him up. He saw his name a bunch of times. He was like, God damn. Come on. Let's run it out. Give it to me. Don't drop it over there. That's jerky. Get it. Okay. Give me your ball. Come on. Come on.
You lose it?
Did you lose it or you have to poop? One of the two. Eee, look at that. Thanks, Crescent Slice. I don't know if you meant to put a thing in, but sometimes people accidentally not give the money and not put the thing in. So if you had something you wanted to say, go ahead. And if you didn't, thank you. Come on. Where's your ball?
You had to pee too bad.
Whatever. All right, I'm going to end this. You guys have a good night. Bye.